Salutations, Stufos. This is your fabulous leader, the Queen of Shade, coming at you with another special presentation. Moving right along, having great conversations with people you need to know, people you need to hear from. I inspire them, they inspire me. It's kind of a community of support and love and light. And having said all of that, I have two people, two, that you need to meet. One of them is a lover, yoga instructor, I believe, something like that. I keep up with them, but it's been a while, but he had some kind of, we'll talk about that, and he wasn't able to do that for a while. See, I'm in your business. And the other is an award-winning writer and producer. So having said all of that, let me just make sure. Yeah. And actor, winning actor. We can't forget that. All right. So I'm covering everything, and then anything I missed, y'all gonna take the first 5 minutes and fill it in. So no, I'm just messing with them. But anyway, no, these are my babies. I love them. Okay, so I bring to you Mr. Alex Janté and Mr. Kyle Evan. Hi. Okay, now lay out your accolades. Lay out your accolades. What do we do? What do we do here?
Oh, go ahead, baby. Well, yes, I do practice yoga, and I do teach yoga, just not physical, but just the heart of it and the mindset of it, just overall practice. I'm also just a leader and a overall people developer. So I just like to see people grow ultimately. But ultimately what you said, yes, lover.
Yeah, he's also a noob. He left that out.
A lot of other things, but I mean, that just comes up in conversation. But I guess lovers is the umbrella.
And your turn, Alex.
I am an actor, writer, producer, director, and then CEO of Janté Productions. Kyle's boyfriend. When he allows me to. I'm kidding. I think if we're going to like a lover umbrella, I would just be storyteller. I just like to tell stories, either through acting, writing, or being able to bring them to life.
And the both of you are so amazing at what you do. And then together, you guys are even more brilliant.
Thank you.
You wait till you see the thumbnail that I chose for this video. You'll see. It's a lovely one. It's a lovely one. So, oh my God. It's okay. We were supposed to have this before, but timing is everything. The universe speaks. This is the right time. And I'm so excited to have both of you here because, I really do follow both of you, and I really am touched, moved, and inspired by your lives. They take twists and turns. There's all kinds of ups and downs, but that's life. And I love that you guys, in the midst of that turmoil, managed to keep your core nice and solid. So let's start with Kyle. Where are you from, Kyle? Where were you born?
Originally, I am from Atlanta, Georgia, a little town called Riverdale. So I'm a native here. Everyone just transplant moved to Atlanta, but I'm one of the native boys.
Okay.
Yep. Southern boy at heart. All of that.
Yay. Alex, where are you from?
I would say I'm from Chicago, but everyone from Chicago would jump me. So I'm like 30 minutes south of Chicago in a place called Joliet, Illinois, which is kind of on the cusp end of the city. So just 30 minutes just to get to Chicago. So Midwest. Chicago suburbs.
Yeah, I what was that, 2009? I got the opportunity to go to Chicago to visit my brother. He was he was a big tech guy out there in Chicago, and he made a lot of money, and he was married. He was getting married at that time because I actually went to house sit. So it was the first time I had been to Chicago, and my God, it just, for me, I'm from Philadelphia. And, I started in the city, then I moved to the suburbs, and then I've lived some other places, Paris, things like that. So Chicago just, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. No, it wasn't bad. You know what it was? It was so spread out. Like for me, it was so spread out. And I'm thinking probably because he lived in the suburbs, that was the thing. It was so it was quiet, But like one thing that I remember, I wanted to be able to walk to a store, like, walk to a store. And literally, I think where he lived, there was a store, but like I'm from Philly, like we got bodegas and stuff, like, y'all, so it was cute. And I ended up walking the 20 minutes to the supermarket because I'm like, I like variety. Spice up. Yeah, I like variety.
If he was out there like in Schaumburg or something, then yeah, like I realized in places like Chicago and Dallas, like you absolutely need a vehicle. There's places like New York and even here in Atlanta, depending on where you live, you don't necessarily need a car.
Yeah.
But in the rest of the world, majority of places, you definitely.
And I don't drive. I don't want to. I don't want to. Like, I don't want to. But the thing is, like, it might happen later. This is the thing. I was traumatized as a child. We were in car accidents. It was bad. But that's not the point. The point, the point, I'm just telling you where that comes from. But the point is, like, even when I'm in the car with my grandmother's 74. She's like she's my best friend. She was my business partner, but we'll get to that. But then she assumed a more silent role, just kind of like an advisor. And I took the helm and went my way. But I'm in the car with her and I'm still like, watch this car looks like he's coming over. And I'm able to anticipate and watch out for this and look out for that. And I'm looking both ways. And she's like, are you sure you don't want to drive? And I'm just like, no, but watch out because he's coming over. So I don't know, probably later on in life. I'm 39 now. I'll be 40 this year. So maybe, maybe by 60 I'll drive.
Me and Baby were just talking about, so we're both leaders in our own perspective, right? When it comes to either our professional jobs or like in our passions. So I was just talking to him about the leadership, about helping to cultivate others in that field. And I compared it to driving, where a lot of people are comfortable being the passenger and kind of seeing the sides and this, whatever. And that first feeling that you get, like when you're in driver's ed or leave school, is like, this is the first time I actually have like physical control of my life in my palm of my hands, and then my actions and decisions matter. And you can see immediately the causes and effects. And we compared it to just like our leadership styles and things like that. So we literally just had this conversation yesterday.
How to handle like your power, like your responsibility.
It's so crazy. I'm a very powerful person. And the way you just said that is exactly why I don't drive. Because I'm like,
that's just trauma and anxiety. Like I've been rear-ended and I've rear-ended someone else. So like I'll be in the car with Baby and I'll just be like, out of nowhere, he's like, how you can't do that?
I'm like, how you can't?
I understand, and then like you have to drive for other people. It's not, you're not only in control, there's other people that are in control. You have to surrender to that.
It's called a part of it. Yeah, it's called defensive driving. You've got to be defensive.
But like, if we could translate that a little bit, it goes to a whole mindset, because we live in a huge melting pot city where you're getting people from New York, Memphis, Florida, Chicago, all these, Detroit, all these kind of people, and their defensive style of driving is completely different. Because in Chicago, Lakeshore Drive, like I'm comfortable, snow, rain. The thing that scares me about driving is like an animal jumping out, like deer. That's my fear, just based upon where I live. Where here is like weather, like rain completely changes people. I'm like, it's just rain, right? So it's different mindsets, but that also affects like, trauma.
But you know what? I like the way we're starting off, because we're actually having a conversation about life. They'll get it. They'll get it as we sum it all up. But you're absolutely right. Rain doesn't bother me. I can be in a car with my grandmother, and I've learned to be her extra eyes. But the reason why I don't take the helm is because I'm afraid. Because the thing is, now mind you, I'm, like you said, all three of us, we are leaders. We do what we do to impact the lives of so many people around us. But when you are in that machine, that 2,000-pound machine, you're responsible for your life. And that just, it doesn't sit well with me, not because I'm not okay with that, but because I'm from Philly. Do you understand what'll happen? Bitch, you just tried to take my life. My whole life, like my whole life, let me tell you something.
As you talk to somebody, this is real. This is big.
Let me tell you something. Like what? You just cut me off. You could have killed me and all these people. Like I'm ready to fight.
There's a psychology to it. I took like this driver's defense class where it's talking about the psychology of driving, especially with men, and how they get the anger, what's like road rage, and how it goes to another level. You can feel it sometimes too. And you know what? I heard someone refer to this like it's a moving coffin sometimes. You know, I always keep that mindset just realistically, because it's not myself or driving, as people that make me.
That scares me though. I don't want to think of it as a moving coffin.
I don't mean to scare, but it's just the reality like of it too, especially in Atlanta. You see that it happens, and you know people who die from it as well, and it's so easy.
You know, but you know what I mean? But also, I just, you know, it's like, look, I'm getting out this car, like, because get this, my grandmother has been driving. And I'm like, I've seen people just not be respectful of the rules of driving. And that's the thing. I know all the rules. I took the driver's ed. I did all of that. And it's just, when I look at my grandmother and then I look at somebody do something that could have cost her life or mine as well, like my grandmother has had to stop me because I'm unlocking my door. I'm getting out. And my thing is, I'm going to tell whoever's behind me, whoever's on the side of me, do you know what you could have done? Do you know what you just could have done? So my grandmother's like, no, baby, don't do all that, you know. But my grandmother's favorite word behind her, she's a Christian, but her word behind the wheel is asshole. Asshole. That's all she say all the time. Asshole.
I do like what you said, because it does go into like a different life philosophy about I take the class, I know the rules of the road. And I think it was shocking for me coming from Illinois to like visiting my cousins in Mississippi when I realized that for us in high school, driver's ed is part of the curriculum.
Yep.
Right. And then some high schools, that's not the case. Where like they just like you're based like he didn't have a driver's ed. So my thinking is, like we've all had the same exposure, same kind of lessons about taking the test, and I had to, I guess, face the reality that's not the case. That translates beyond just driving, as far as just our expectations about where people should be in life versus age and our fields and just the impact. So I think it helps with like perspective and empathy and may like slow down, but relating it back to the driving, like I think what they're like, well, why are you driving like this? We all took the same class. What's wrong? Like you want to snap off, but you have to like, we clearly didn't. Clear. And I can tell by the condition of your car, like how you got to the position.
Like up north, you got you guys' education like system and just approach is I always envy it from what we give it in the South. Again, I'm not trashing education in the South, but like you just said, the curriculum that you're given is way ahead.
Yeah.
It's like Union Confederate, and it's 2000 like 20, like come on, it's
yeah. No, like you're absolutely right, because like what stopped me from getting my learner's permit? I went to college. I was 17 when I went to college, and it's just because my birthday falls in September, so college starts in August. So literally, I like you're right, like, and where I went to school, I went to a college prep school. There were a lot of things, and you know, like I've even been on jobs. And speaking of curriculum, and I've had my bosses assemble the staff, and they're like, you know, this is Philly, and you guys were failed by the education system. I've heard them say that too. So it's not just the South. In Philadelphia, in the school system, because my grandmother, the reason why I know this is my grandmother taught school in the inner city of Philadelphia for 40 years, but she put me and my siblings in the suburbs. That was the thing. And you see, she taught her own, loved her own, and I started out in her school because my aunt, through marriage, her sister-in-law, that was first class I was in. So I was right next door to my grandmother. From second to fourth grade, I went to school with my grandmothers, drove every morning and things like that. And it was a major difference, because going to the suburbs and realizing that everybody is not taught the same thing. Everybody is not, you know, aware of the same things. But the only thing that stopped me from getting my learner's permit when I went to college, my friends took me. I failed, like you only can miss like 3 questions. And my third question, and get this, I was 17. I remember, because I was so upset because I aced driver's ed. So the question was, who does in driving, who has the right of way? And it said the car or the pedestrian. I said the pedestrian, but the law is no one has the right of way driving. No one has the right of way. The system that is used is you arrive at the stop sign first, you stop, you can go, because every other way has to arrive at that stop sign and come to a full stop before they can go. So I noticed it's kind of like a dance, like we stop, then we go. And while we're stopping, somebody has already stopped before, so now they're going. You see, they're going. Now it's our turn. Now we go. Like full stops had to be made. And they asked, like, and I said, you know, because I hear all the time, the pedestrian, stop for the pedestrian. But the truth of the matter is, if you jump out there, you're not entitled to.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. That's what it is. Actually, that's a really good lesson. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
And I made it a point after leaving yoga. I said, you said it's the entitlement, and like I have the right of way. It's not like, you know, fuck that person, I'm trying to hit him. No, you're breaking flow. None of us have the right. I don't even have the right of way. Like you said, it's neutral, it's even.
Yeah.
So you're breaking flow and you're causing death right now, even as a pedestrian, thinking that you're entitled and can walk.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to cost your life or somebody else's life. And just because I'm in a car doesn't mean I need to now surrender, you know, to your entitlement of power. No, we are all like, it's a balance. There's no right of way. But what is that mindset of entitlement though, you know, of just like getting out of balance with that and causing a chaotic situation? Okay.
For the viewers, just so you stay with us, we are talking about life. And this is gorgeous. And I'm so glad we got this on film, because what we are really discussing is life. There is no entitlement, and you must be respectful with your life, so that, and that's what people don't understand. So your life doesn't spill over into the lap of someone else, and they have to be responsible for your baggage.
Let's look at this like metaphor, or this going back to driving. Relatable. So I hate traffic. That's one thing. I'm so happy I work from home now. I hate traffic. It's the worst thing. It's so inconvenient, and you cannot move around it. You can't be flexible. You can't. You have to sit in it. So why does traffic happen? Somebody didn't stay in their lane, or somebody didn't stay in the flow. Usually, crossover went bad. Somebody bumped. It didn't. You didn't keep in your you didn't stay aware, or most times you didn't stay in your lane. So what happens again in life, or at work, or at on set, or anything when you don't stay in your lane? You're causing traffic. You're causing drama, you're causing friction, you're interrupting flow, you're interrupting chi.
I want to interject here real quick. Even in your relationships with other people, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You know, I thought it was even for me, like I didn't have an entitlement, but I'm a Libra. So harmony, I'm there for my fellow man. I'm there to help and to serve and to be. And then you go outside and, because it works in here, my space. But then you go outside and people are like, no, I'm going to take the right of way. I'm going to walk. I'm going to do this. And you're standing there like, oh, okay. Like you understand very quickly, like Alex said, these people, it's not just the entitlement, but they are moving through life, and they are, my grandmother says it the best, they're self-serving. They only think of themselves. And get it. When you're driving, you are supposed to be thinking of yourself, but not only of yourself, because you're not the only one on the road. Okay. Alex, what's your birth sign? Say Aquarius.
I'm Aquarius.
What are you?
I'm Scorpio.
No, we having a cerebral conversation. This is great.
But you know what? I always play devil's advocate in the opposite. Queen of Shade, I think of everybody else while I'm driving, and that's the kind of thing in life too, which is why sometimes that's get out of my balance. I just told my mentor, like, she was like, "Hi, why don't you do your reimbursements?" I said, girl, I take care of everybody else. I take care of everybody else so much sometimes I forget to take care of myself. That's my problem.
Ah,
But when I'm driving, what helps for me and why I haven't gotten an accident is mentally I'm calculating everybody else
yeah.
and not myself. So when something does happen, which in Atlanta it has, I'm supposed to have been in accidents.
Yeah.
I'm able to maneuver around defensively to not get involved with other people's mess because I saw it coming. So I'm mindfully like, and I'm a huge empath too. I'm mindfully calculating people's feelings, where their mindset's at. Sometimes it's sensitive and makes me overstimulated, but it keeps me like protected because I have to be in a world, but I don't have to be in people's shit.
So get this, keep that right there. So how do you feel when you see an accident and you drive around it? How does it make you feel?
Very neutral.
That's what it should. That's what it should. That's what it should, until it's you. And then it's like, well, nobody will help me. You see what we're talking about? Like, and then what we're talking, but you know what's so funny? That's what life is. The rules change. They are not etched in stone. They are not specific. They are tailored to every situation. They change. You cannot go through life and say, this is this, because there's always going to come circumstances, situations that cause you to step away from black and white thinking. And go ahead.
For the shade. So I'm more of like that type logical thinker, right? Where like Babe is going to be more emotion based, kind of adaptive in the moment, where I'm taking a series of experiences and either firsthand or through trusted relationships and say, I know that the stove is hot, right? There's no reason for me to even touch it. Where he's going to be like, oh, well, you may be able to warm things up and let's just see how close we can get. But that to bring that to the driving scenario, you know, the way we drive and kind of navigate through some of that traffic is completely different in relationships, but he's helped me to balance that flow and then likewise help bring structure to the waves that he can have as well.
And you have to have that structure though, or at least that understanding to master the flexibility. Like the one thing I believe in is change. Change is inevitable. Look at the trees. However, to be flexible, you need to have a floor and foundation unless you break.
Get this. I'm gonna add another log on this fire.
In
the entertainment industry, everybody's responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
It's not, wait, it's not one. No, get this. The public watches. I once watched as a consumer. I didn't always have the entrepreneurial mentality. I had to kill the consumer mentality so that I could understand the entrepreneurial mentality, but I still understand the consumer mentality. People watch and they think, oh, it's one big happy family. Oh, everybody's kind to each other. They see all these pictures, but they don't understand. No, sweetheart, their people, their handlers have them. My handlers have me. It's like there's so much behind the scenes that they don't get to see.
It's so funny that so I have been an actor, right? Been the person in front of the camera telling the story, and I've understood the behind the camera, but started getting more into the production, editing, of course, having my own company. But because of my experiences, I've been able to show Babe, we've been watching like television shows or reality shows. I'm like, well, look at this. You can tell where this like jumped, or you can tell how this edited. Like, so we see things completely different. Like you said, changing our mentality, still being able to understand and enjoy the entertainment, but seeing the business model and the framework behind some of the stuff, to either have that knowledge to absorb and take to improve for thyself, or to accept it as something that we want to continue to look for in other things, right?
Yeah.
So you either learn or you repeat the thing.
What's so funny? You're absolutely right, because music is my thing. That's my thing. So when I pay very close attention to music business. So when I see something, when I read something, I'm like, uh-oh. Label didn't back that. They didn't get all the money. Tour support, they didn't have that. Like, I can see all these things now. And you said it, and you brought up something very, very important, Alex. It's not that you're taking the fun out of the experience. You're having the experience. It's still fun. It's just that your mind understands it in more of a orchestrator's point of view and not necessarily a spectator. You're on the inside. So you're like, so you see it like, and that's the thing. Like, listen, with music, I listen to everything and everyone. And I'm like, ooh, production, mix and master.
Production.
You should not be able to tell. Like, you see, that's what I'm saying. Like, but the thing is, the world is quantity now, not quality.
But get this. Most of these babies out here are trying music for the first time.
Everybody has music. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
I'm talking, my life is about quality. I value quality over just trying to do something or the quantity of it. Yes. Whether I know the inside or not, if you're releasing something, sure, you guys have that perspective, but you should not be, that's the first thing I see is the gaps or not. It wasn't ready to go out. And also, like, let's go back a little bit when you had put that fire log on the you added another fire log. Knowing that reality being realistic and just knowing the reality. Yeah. You think everyone is kind, but they're not, and that's fine. That's just knowing the truth. You got to be realistic and be optimistic. Also, like, if you're not an artist, you're not, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's why what you're releasing isn't given.
Yeah.
And you can be doing something else that you're actually truly capable of, and that, like, the world needs your gift of, instead of just trying to fulfill your ego because it's about you.
Yeah.
Can we speak specifically about what we're talking about in all of this? About
yes.
Me and Baby have talked about this, where he says it all the time. I'll credit Kyle. He was like, everybody's just trying to do something, right? So, like, he's saying quantity versus quality. Like, if Queen of Shade, if music works for you, and I'm a consumer.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I've seen your stuff. Like, I've heard your material. I can do that. That works. That worked for the Queen of Shade. Yeah. And she showed me this little clip. I think I understand. I can put it together myself. It doesn't work for Alex. Now I'm bitter. I'm putting down your product because it didn't work for me. Let me go to Kyle. I can do that. Like, all he do is stretch real good. Yoga ain't that hard. I can do it. Go to class. Take one class. Now I'm an expert. I'm gonna put up a yoga studio.
Yeah.
It didn't work out for me. I don't get the membership because I'm not dedicated to the lifestyle, to the practice, right?
Yeah.
Let me try something else. We are in a time, and I'm speaking about other production companies, but I'm not going to speak on other production companies. Mm-hmm. We are at a time where people are putting out material that is filled with Insta celebrities, where it's just like people who are just trying to be famous, who are not dedicated to whatever craft or practice they really are. There's no development anywhere. There's no artist development, there's no acting development, there's production development. There's lack of development. But because you have a face and a body, and you've been plucked and played in certain stuff, you get quick flashes of the pen, but nothing really lasts. And that drives all to the point of people need to take the time to find the development of what your actual passion is, to have that real self-alignment, right? Because what's going to be for you is going to be for you. And also you will have support in that thing. I bring that up as a true storyteller, like bringing it back to production and to like music. As a true storyteller, like in music, you're telling a story through harmonies, through songs, especially through lyrics. I'm a big lyricist. Baby loves beats and he loves music that is really more score, or just like serene and peaceful, but really give you that emotional thing. All of that is storytelling, right? And to take that away from the craft simply because of followers or comments or people, it lacks intent, right? It spirals all over the place. And I am thankful to Babes and his practice about just showing how to slow down to speed up, showing how to get in touch with your human side, that kind of perspective. I've dedicated myself to crafting storytelling. Like, I love thrillers and horror. So my niche is always going to have some type of fantasy, some type of something in there. But at the core of it, all of my production pieces, projects, characters, you can have a white boy play, a white girl, Latino, transgender, anybody can play those characters and the story still works. But I have been dedicated to character development, storytelling, and then highlighting Black LGBT actors who can bring these characters to life, and may surprise you that they have these kind of chops to do that, right? So you provide the opportunity, but don't mold it around an idea about, let me put you in here because you're popular, right?
Let me tell you something. I'm sitting here and my hands are folded, and they usually say when your hands are folded in an interview, it's because you are trying to protect yourself, but it's not. I folded my arms because what you just said was a mouthful. First of all, I've been in this business for 20 years. I had an A&R. I was going to sign with a major record label years ago. I was in studios in New York City years ago. We're talking circa 2006, circa 2007. But this is the thing. People come to you and they think, oh, you just decided to do music one day. Baby, I have a vocal coach. I've had production. Like, wait a minute. I've had media coaching.
Your story. Well, that's why. How is that someone's business just to like?
But this is the thing, though. But this is the thing, though.
They don't do that hard work that you're doing.
But thank you, Alex. But this is the thing. They look at you and they think that they can do what you do. And wait, and listen, this is not the part. Like, I encourage anybody to try, but this is my problem. This is my problem. You think that you can do what I do so much that you begin to disrespect me.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's the question. The statement was, oh, you just got into music, or rather than, oh, what got you into music, or what that's the mindset. That's the approach I'm talking about. They just kind of just interject in your life and then assumed and then stated that you just hopped in because they know you. That's again an entitlement, rather than inquiring genuinely. Oh, what got you? You know, what I don't know, what, how long have you been doing this?
Same thing with fashion. I started in fashion. People, and it was so crazy because I've been saying it on my platform for years. Then I started doing these, and then I started interviewing my famous fashion friends. And then they were like, oh, the bitch wasn't lying. No, she wasn't lying.
Yeah. I'm interested in hearing about your time in Paris.
Right. It was a beautiful time because I left listen to this. I left America. I left the Americas for Paris. Well, before that, let me back up. I had been going for years, a couple of years, going back and forth to New York City, living in Philly, taking the China bus for $20 and going up to New York all year round, going to the agencies, request. Oh my God. Okay, so here, I'm going to finish the story. But yesterday I was doing an interview and I was talking to somebody about fashion, and because he's in New York now, and I couldn't remember the name of the modeling agency that I always went to that was for men exclusively. And then when I started telling the story, it was Request. So, you know, Jamar, if you see this, it's Request, the model management company. But anyway, I went up there for years and I was going and going and going, and nobody, and this is the thing, no one would tell me what I was missing. It was always, I'm sorry, you're not what we're looking for. Come back in 6 months. You have the look. They all said that to me. You have the look, but you're just not what we're looking for. So I'll tell you about that in a second, because that translates to a lot. But so I turn around and finally I go to, and I love it, Boss Model Management. I had seen them many times. But this time I'm standing in line. I have on like a little Armani Exchange sweater. It's cold outside. I have my twist in, and they were mine at that time. It wasn't a wig, but you know, I had my twist and they were highlighted, and you know, I'm standing there, and I didn't expect. And this is the thing, you kind of start to expect what you receive a lot of. So I understand how entitlement can go both ways, because if that's what you're used to receiving, then you're going to get comfortable there, and you have to teach yourself not to be so comfortable, to expect change. But that's a whole horse of another color. But anyway, the director, he pulled me out of line. Now, mind you, I also noticed another thing about this line. It was mostly Black wannabe models. It was us. We couldn't get in. We couldn't get in. They didn't want us in. I didn't learn till Paris that when they told me, sweetie, Black people don't wear our clothes. There's no Black market here. So they don't wear couture. They don't wear couture. They buy ready to wear, Gucci, off the rack, not couture, where a blouse can cost you $50,000. Black people don't do that. They're grabbing.
Because where are we going? Because where are we going?
Okay.
It's just for the show.
Okay. These people, like and I love that you said that, because these clothes actually have a purpose for these people. You know, there's outside boots, there's inside boots. If you're riding a horse, like there's a lot to it. But he pulls me out of line and he says to me, "You have an amazing look." He says, "But listen, I've watched you around New York." Because they talk, all the agencies talk. We've seen him. You leave your comp card, your pictures. So he said, I'm gonna do something for you that nobody else will do. I said, "What?" And all the Black people are listening, like they're listening, because they're like, because even me, I'm like, why did he pull me out of this line? Like, there's so many people, more people taller, you know, people that I would really look at and be like, oh, that's a model. So he pulls me out of the line. He says, "Have a seat." So I have a seat, and he says, "You have everything you need to become a very successful model in this industry." I had never heard that before. So I'm like, I didn't know what to say. And I just said, "Really?" He said, and he looked at me kind of weird, because it was like, "Okay, you are getting into modeling because you know you're a model, right?" You know, that kind of look. But you know, you're looking for validation. So until you get it, difficulty. So he says to me, he says, "Listen, you have the look, you have it." He said, "But you belong in Paris. You're too skinny for America, New York." And I was like, I looked at him, he was like, "Yeah." He's like, you'll do great in France." Now, mind you, he didn't give me any connections. He didn't say, "We'll send you," you know, because they can do that too. "Oh, if we believe in you, we'll go send you over there. You'll do that. You'll come back, come big, and then we'll bring you back over here." They didn't want to do that, because I'm going to highlight something else too, that the problem is with our people. So I thanked him for his time. And then I immediately started calling all my friends, because at that time I was 22, 21, 22. I didn't have a lot of money saved. I hadn't finished college. I had to come out medical withdrawal because of being diagnosed bipolar 1, acute anxiety, and PTSD. I was traumatized, child. So turns around and I called all my friends and I said, "Listen, I spoke to a man today, the director of Boss. He said, I do better in Paris." My friend, and that's the thing about our support systems. My support system was like, "Well, then that's where you need to go, bitch. That's where you need to go. Then what's the move?" So literally, get this, at this time, I was homeless. I was pursuing my modeling dream, homeless, because my family had put me out of the house because I decided to live in my truth as a gay man. And, you know, coming from a very religious family, although all my uncles and aunts on my mother's side are gay and lesbian. But they were, I saw both of y'all. Exhale, I saw both of y'all. We'll get to it. So they're gay and lesbian, but they're born again. They're Jesus. I was like, look, God made me like this, and he's going to do something great with me, just like this. Yeah. You know, they thought I was lying. You should see them now. They hate me. Oh, they hate me. But so my friends got together the money. I had no place to stay here. Like, I was sleeping on couches. Literally, I had all my belongings, 3 suitcases. I worked at a temp job real quick to get some money in my pocket real fast. And then in the middle of the night, I flew out of here from Philadelphia International Airport. And I'll never forget getting on the plane. Now, mind you, I was in a black cat suit, mind you. I was in a black cat suit. I was like, I'm gonna set Paris ablaze. So I was in a black cat suit. I was tight. I was right. I got micro braids. So, and I had them braided, but up in the top, and the rest was just out. So it was just, child, I look like a vision. I was creating my own anime character. So yes, so that was the thing. And on the plane, all the stewardess, all the flight attendants, they kept touching me. "Oh my God, you're so thin and so, you know, tight, and you're gonna be a model," and they were supporting me. But I will never forget what it felt like to leave in the middle of the night, all my problems behind me, and wake up the next morning, and I'm 30,000 feet in the air, and the clouds are below me.
Freedom.
flying, we're flying over the Atlantic. And I made a stop. We went from Philadelphia International to Heathrow in London. And then from Heathrow International Airport, we went to Charles de Gaulle outside of Paris. So I had to make a change. And I'll never forget how I felt, because literally I had never been on a plane ever in my life. This was the first time I'd ever been on a plane, been out of the country, anything. And I went there by myself, met a man, of course, beauty, met a man, and he took care of me while I was there, fed me, all kinds of stuff, like looked out for me. He was affluent too. The French are very wealthy. That's a very wealthy civilization. Yes, very wealthy civilization.
They lost all the wars. They should.
You're wrong. Look at your babe. Baby's looking at you like, babe, no. Look at you. Like, look, he don't know how to act. But no, listen, like they're very wealthy. They're very wealthy. So he took me in, and I remember, now this is the thing, I'm in Paris because Kyle asked. It was very hard, Kyle. It was very hard and very stressful. And I didn't know that it would make me sick. It would trigger a manic episode. But I'm kind of one of those people where even with my business, I do like my buddy, George Lee, we know him as the Conscious Lee. He says research over me search. So what I did before I even left, it was like a year before, I had already mapped out every single agency in Paris. I knew where I was going. I knew what I was going to do. And, it just, I did my research, but it didn't go as smoothly as I wanted it to go. At first, it was very, very difficult. No one would see me. But this is the thing, everything happens for a reason. I made a mistake and I went to the same agency. I'm not going to say their name because they're still there and they're reputable. I went to them by accident twice. And the second time I went, they just tore into me. They just lit into me, everything of the reasons why. They basically told me everything except you're Black is the reason why you won't make it. But everything that they were saying was basically saying you're Black. That's why you won't make it. So I didn't let them see me cry, but I cried as I got in the elevator. And I walked out to the street, and there was a Black woman in a boutique across the street. And she saw me because I seen her like I saw the first time I went there. So that's when I realized like, oh my God, I've been here twice. You got turned around. You should never came here. People know how to dash your dreams when they don't see it for you. So she called me over, and to make a long story short, she said, you're beautiful. Where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from America. She said, oh, you're American. She says, I have somebody you need to meet. That's how it happened for me. And she introduced me to a fashion photographer who was from Chicago. His name was Ernest Collins. He's dead now. He died last year. But Ernest, I had a conversation with Ernest. Now, mind you, this is a 22-year-old Bjorn, 22-year-old. I wasn't Queen of Shade yet. And he, by the end of our conversation, said to me, I'm going to take pictures. Come back here tomorrow, bring a white t-shirt and some jeans. And I did that. And I said, but I don't have the money. I said, but I don't have the money to pay you for the photos. And he said to me, he said, did I ask you about that?
He didn't. He's requesting.
What time do you need me to be there? It could be 30 minutes early.
Exactly. But get this, he said this to me. This was 2005. He said, you're going to be famous. He said, and I will not have had this opportunity to photograph you, to have you in my book, which raises my reputation. I will not allow you to walk out of here without me photographing you, because you're going to be a big deal. That was 2005. And I began hanging out with that photographer. He took those pictures and we started hanging out. He introduced me to so many people. They were running around. That was 2005. I was new I was new there, but I couldn't understand why everybody in Paris was running around talking some, don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me? And I'm like, what the fuck are y'all singing? And it was the Pussycat Dolls. They had just come out. Don't ya? So all the boys, everybody's running around, don't ya? I'm like, what is going on? They're like, you don't know, this is from America. I'm like, oh, all right. So then, but look at that. It wasn't a total usher in. He had to leave because he had to work on Top Model. He got called to be a photographer to work on Top Model. America's Next Top Model. So he was gone before Fashion Week rolled around. So I went to Fashion Week alone. And I did very well. I got into a lot of shows. And this is the thing, based on my look, got into a lot of shows, and people kept asking me, are you one of the models in the show? Are you one of the models in the show? And I'm like, no, I am trying to get discovered. I'm trying to get discovered. And they let me into the shows. It was amazing. But what people didn't understand was the glitz and the glamour was not what I was after. I needed to get a contract because I had a younger brother and siblings in the States that I needed to look after. I went over there, I stashed my brother with some in-laws I didn't even know. And he's calling me, telling me about the drama. And I'm just like, oh my God, I've got to fix this. And so I rushed myself. And I rushed myself right into a manic episode. So my trip had to be cut short because the last 2 months of the 6 months I was there, I spent in a hospital. Henri Vaucluse, I believe, was the hospital. Yeah. And they nursed me back to health because I was so done. And I remember crying because I knew I had to go home. And everyone knew that I had come to Paris to do it. And I knew that I had it in me to do it. But my body and my mind just failed me. It wouldn't let me do it. So I left. And the embassy, the US embassy, because I only bought a one-way ticket that way. So yeah. So turned around and the embassy paid for me to go home. And then they loaned me money, like I had a couple $100 so that I could get to where I needed to get to when I got back home. So basically came back, I had a place to stay in Paris. I came home and I was homeless again. I've been through it. So long story short, I put in a lot of work in my career. If a bitch thinks that she's going to come and knock me down, you can't knock a pillar down. You can't knock a pillar down. And the thing is, people see you and we don't know her. Oh, da, 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 da. Yeah, you're right. You don't know where I've been. You don't know my story. But that should cause you to respect me and learn, not disrespect me and attempt to laugh me off. Because now I'm doing this and they like, these bitches is like, it's so funny. Like I had someone in Hollywood and for the last 14, 15 years, they've been tampering with my empire. The economics damage, lawsuit, and all kinds of stuff is going on over here. I got all kinds of stuff behind the scenes going on.
If I could interject real quick.
Yes.
You said something real key about not knowing your story. We were just talking about this yesterday about people owning their own story. And it goes to the point of you being able to uniquely own, know, and be able to tell your story.
Yeah.
And then that being part of why your alignment is your alignment and not the adoption of someone else. And I think you said something about like looking at you, not knowing your full story and then trying to knock you down. It's worse than that.
Yep.
It's not about knocking you down. It's about replacing you altogether.
Uh-huh.
That's what's happening today. And it's like you really don't want the experience, I'm sure, right? Like all of what you're saying is, like you said, building blocks of all these steps and hardships that you can fathom.
Yep.
What is self-awareness?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is where I think this is the root cause of our whole fire log chat right now.
Yeah.
Our fireside chat is a self-awareness. One, what really helps me is it was agreement number 2, don't take it personal, which is always a practice. Anything that someone is ejecting out is what's in. So you're not talking to me, you're talking to yourself. You're not.
A lot of people don't understand that.
It's hard to understand because it is very easy to take it personal, but you're right. You don't know me. I don't know you. And that's very fair. So how can I hand my story and just my power over to you? It doesn't make sense and it doesn't align. And it's something very powerful about minding your business. I don't know how much simple to say that, but there's something very powerful about it. Then that's when you fall into whatever is true for you. whatever is true for you, whatever is true for you, that you're able to roll with that flawlessly and just with flow rather than, I don't know, it feels, for me, it feels, I don't feel good when I attack like other, or like, you know, try to make others feel bad or try to like bring them down. There's no gain from that. It's a waste of my time. And I feel ugly doing that. So again, I think I'm all about emotional intelligence. It goes to first step is self-awareness. And I think that's the lack of just the world now, because back to what you said, development. So other people are trying to be other people. That's not them. And that's because they're just fake and scared rather than operating in love.
I love that. You said because they're just fake and scared and not operating in love. I had to repeat that. Yeah, I had to repeat that because that's what happened with this person. This person is very well known in our community, has done a lot, and has been terrorizing me behind the scenes. Terrorizing. The only reason I say terrorizing is because I've been learning.
Learning is great.
Isn't it?
Learning
Isn't
is
it?
best. It's the
Isn't
best.
it? Isn't it? And my thing is, everything this person has done has taught me something that I can do in my industry. How, like, I now, because that person did what they did for 15 years, I now have a specific set of like skills. My skill set, it is razor sharp. I can get in there and pinpoint something, and my accuracy, I'm rarely ever wrong. And it's because, yeah, 15 years you've been messing with all of this stuff. And yes, and see, the thing was, I knew fashion at that time. I didn't get into music. That was 2005. I didn't get into music till 2008 when I started, because I came to YouTube and I was singing where I met and encountered this person. And then my name started to buzz because of my voice. And then I think I didn't really go professional into music until 2013. And then I just started to unleash all of that pain. And it wasn't even really painful for me. Like, I just got frustrated. I remember myself saying to the divine, I'm like, why are you allowing this? Why are you allowing this back then? And now I know why. Because like I said, I sit here with a particular set of skills. It's like Taken.
Like Liam
Neeson said, he said, I have a particular set of skills. Yep. And that's exactly what I have, a particular set. And you don't want to mess with me. Because now I have the lawyers and everything. You see, and I learned.
But where did Queen of Shade come from? Let's get into.
Okay.
So why shade? Because I've seen truth, I've seen revelation, I've seen Odyssey. So
get this. I'm gonna tell you the God's honest truth. So help me God. So this is what happened. 2015, 2016, I got fed up with what was happening to me behind the scenes, because I was just still trying to go back into YouTube from the 2008, 2009 era and just sing covers and not talk and not show this world who I be. You know, I was not trying to do that. So because I was still silent, all of that stuff was still happening to me to make sure I would stay silent. And then I'm a Libra. Libras, we're a cardinal sign, air sign, and we're very warrior. We're very warrior, like we will fight you and we won't back down. And it's really difficult to fight a Libra because with our abilities come, like I said, I'm a prophet, an oracle, shaman, seer, healer. I do all of that with my mentees. I do all of that. I was talking to someone yesterday and he told me his sister died. And I said, looked him right in his face. And he was talking about his sister. And I said, she's proud of you. She's telling me right now, she's proud of you. And he was like, yeah, she tells me that all the time. I'm like, yeah, it's confirmation. She just told me. So turns around and I turned on my camera. 15 seconds. I was scared. I was shy. I put on my grandmother's church hats to hide. But I wanted to just get the anger and the frustration out of being fucked with behind the scenes. So I just started saying, and that's the thing, I've always been good with my words. English was one of my best subjects and one of the subjects I did very well in. I have an ability to give voice to my words. I can write something on the screen and you will hear my voice saying it. it's like that. Any book I write, like anything, you can read it and say, I can hear you. It's a gift. So I just turned on the camera, and I'll never forget the one that got my friend's attention, and he was big and he shared it and I went viral. It said, I'm one of the biggest things to hit the gay community. So all of you haters and hatresses are just going to have to fucking deal with it.
I remember that video.
See? Adapt, adjust, hope. And that was it. And it went off. And my friend, Philando, his name is Talk Gay with Faye.
I remember him too.
Yes. He shared it. And I went from 10,000 followers to 22,000 followers in one night. In one night, literally one night. What we don't know is I was in the hospital room of my grandmother. She was having her gallbladder was inflamed. She was in terrible pain and she needed it out. And they didn't even take it out that day because they said it was too inflamed. So they sent her home and she had to endure that pain until the swelling went down. Then she went back and had the gallbladder removed. But I'm sitting in there with my nephew and I'm watching my notifications on Instagram explode. And this person followed you, this person followed you, this person followed you, this person followed you, hundreds and thousands of people. And I'm like, and my thing is, I'm a Libra. So I look at my grandmother and I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. And she's like, what's happening? I'm like, all these people. And she's like, oh my God. I'm like, I need a name. I said it just like that. So I'm sitting there and we're thinking, and I'm like, what do I call myself? Because this is like, and my thing is I'm smart. So I knew this is the start of a brand. This is the start of a brand. May not have had the money to get it all legal at that point, but I knew it was the start of a brand. So I'm like, this is the start of a brand. What do I do? What do I do? So she said, play the video that everybody's liking. She heard the video and she said, ooh, you're going to be the queen of shade. And I said to her, me? I was like, when you put queen in front of shade, that indicates that you're the best to ever do it. And I don't know if I'm the best to ever do it. Do you know what my grandmother said to me? She's also a Libra, the only 2 Libras in my family. She looked at me and said, you will be. I said, I don't know if I can do this. She said, I don't know if I can be the best. She said, you will be. And literally, it was New Year's Eve. So it was a fucked up New Year's Eve because I'm in the hospital with my grandmother, scared to God something gonna happen. And the next morning, I grabbed one of my pictures and I posted it on my Instagram and I said, I would now like to introduce all of you to the Queen of Shade. This is what you
start believing in yourself.
This is what you address me as. And get it, my grandmother wasn't stupid. So she came home, we got home. She said, what are you doing? Because I was downstairs. I'm like, checking on you. She said, no, you're not. You're going upstairs to trademark the Queen of Shade right now. And that's what I did. And I had to fight for it because shade, the word shade by itself, someone owns. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
So all these people out here talking some shade. Y'all better not get hit with lawsuits. Keep on using it. Go ahead. Keep on using it. Mm-hmm. All these
especially
people,
like on t-shirts and stuff.
T-shirts and on television. They got, listen, if this person surfaces, you owe this person money. It's gonna be an open and shut case. You're just gonna have to pay them.
That's it. But like, so what you're talking about, or what we're talking about really is creativity, self-awareness, self-worth. We talked about it in different platforms: fashion, music, yoga, film, storytelling.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that is being business savvy, business minded.
Yep.
Right. A lot of time when you're talking about, you kind of alluded to when we talk about us, right?
Yeah.
We are so great at being creative and these different art sectors, and health and wellness, where the business is boring. It's not as flamboyant. It's not as really easy to understand. Yeah, and honestly, there's not enough of us in leadership or mentorship places that reach back down to help other people understand without trying to replace the person that's coming up underneath you or see
Because
them
they feel threatened.
I mean, there's not enough of us doing that.
You're right.
Bay knows I do it all the time. I mentor, I literally help write resumes and build, because that's me understanding myself. That's my passion, to develop leadership in others, because it helps develop the leadership in me, right? So at the same time, like, I'm writing 3 scripts right now for Janté Productions now. One of them is going to be a completely different way of doing a show and movie. That I feel like the model can be copywritten or like at least patented, right? So I'm already thinking about that while I'm in the creative process. A lot of people as a mentor don't really help instruct you. Babe is great because he's a yoga instructor. He helps like with alignment. He understands music therapy, like connects to physical therapy, and then being able to be still as you kind of stretch through any ailment, right? So he understands the body, all of that connected to the spirit and mind. Me, I'm looking at the fact that while your creative juices are flowing, you have to do the stuff that you're not necessarily comfortable with at the same time. That way it's not lackluster, because once the creative part stops, you're going to feel excited and amped to put something out there on YouTube or on Instagram or on SoundCloud, right? And then have a social media marketing field about, this person stole this from me, they used my beats. Yeah, but it was available. You know what I mean? Just like a great idea is not necessarily owned by you unless you do the work. And like I said, unfortunately, it's 2 factors, right? It's not enough of us teaching those and helping those. Like all the production companies I've ever worked under and been with, I still connect with to this day. Even people who've been with Signal 23 or HG Productions, Art House. I'm missing a lot of them. But all these production companies I've networked with, I'm not competing with anybody, right? Because my niche is completely different. My storytelling is completely different. I would love to utilize your gift in whatever you're doing to collaborate. I'm looking for an association with, right? That's how I look at stuff. There are people that are upcoming cinematographers. But I'd be like, I have projects coming up. Let's take an opportunity to collaborate. I have the material. Why not exercise your craft and practice in this way? How much more powerful would you have been had you had a mentor in Paris to help you through those experiences? How much more impactful could you have been if someone said, even if they're not knowledgeable in the fashion, to be able to speak, said, hey, not at the time, but I would address it, hey, Queen of Shade, you're worried about your family, whatever sent you into that episode. Here's some resource that you can take to relieve your anxiety, relieve your depression. We're not networked enough. We're starting to get there to help really facilitate that. And a lot of that is really delved in pain and trauma, because a lot of the creatives come from environments and experiences that have forced them to use creativity and art as an outlet to some sort of pain. Right? A lot of that brokenness, when people are approached in that way, or have experienced being taken advantage of, or don't know how to accept that kind of thing, right? So it's almost built in. It's oven baked into the system. So we have to start on purpose, allowing that vulnerability to open up. How do we do that? It looks different in different relationships. Go ahead.
I have 2 things. The person you speak of that I should have had, I now am.
Exactly.
For everyone else. And what I love about life is that, especially with me and the divine, I am oftentimes shown things so that I will want it. I am given a taste of it so that I rise to the occasion. The first time in Paris was my taste. I left my heart there and came back to work. And everything, all those years, 17 years since I've been there, I worked so that I could take this and everything I do back there. And you're right. See, what people don't understand, and you said it, you hit it on the head. I was a creative at first, but I ain't never been stupid. I started to read. And as I started to read and ask the right questions of research, the business side became my favorite side. It's what I live for now. Because literally, creativity, I have that in spades. Like we are sitting here today, we all three of us do. We're sitting here. We didn't know how this conversation was going to go. We created something beautiful for people to listen and at least start to realize, damn, I need to start looking for A, mentors that are available, and B, I need to get into the side of business and not just so much the creativity, because the business matters. The business is everything. That's what got good to me. My grandmother said to me, she said, baby, you exceeded all of my expectations. I kid you not, guys. I am in her spare bedroom in her 2-bedroom townhouse over here in Philly. For the last 6 years, I've been chained to this desk, not just creating, but learning everything I could about the businesses that I'm interested in, that I didn't know when I was 22. Because see, that's, my grandmother always taught me that the information is your money. The information is your power. The information is your respect. That's what, listen, you should see people. People, when they approach me, they don't try me. Don't try. And I'm going to tell you why. It's not because I'm a boss ass bitch. No, they've done their research. The Queen of Shade Entertainment LLC lives. And get this, you said it too. I've had not one person steal a line of anything I've ever said, because everything is scripted and copyrighted. I wish a bitch would. Let me tell you. Wait, it gets better. Oh, it gets better. It gets better. Oh, it gets better. And to showcase the proof of this, Marvel Comics and Disney tried to steal my Queen of Shade trademark. I don't have to say allegedly, because my lawyers, we issued the cease and desist and got the response. We're sorry, we're backing off. They tried to start they wanted to call it a drag queen, first drag queen superhero. At that time, I was big with the fans. Her weapons were fans. I wore a green wig at that time. Her hair was green. Her outfit, I was in. And when my lawyer sent them the photo of me and put it side by side with what they had, they said, oh, my bad. We're sorry. That won't happen again. We're going to change her name from Shade to Dark Veil. And my lawyer said to me, he said, damn it. And this is the thing. I am on my business more than my lawyer is. That's how good it got to me. He said, damn it, you caught it too early. You should have let them put the character out, because then they would have had to pay you.
That's what I was about to say. Like, see, the business mind to me would have said, you should have let that lapse, let a couple episodes.
But get this.
Or should have associated with it. That would have been the contract.
But get this. Everybody was saying that. And I was like, no, my message is clear. I own this shit. And nobody is going to do anything with what I own. So he said to me, he said, all right. He understood me. Nene Leakes tried to. She, I don't have to say allegedly, because those cease and desist letters were served as well. She tried to do a show. She was going on tour. She named it the Queen of Shade Tour. My lawyer got to her. She tried. She was Nene, so she didn't respond. But she changed the title of her tour to Shit Talkers in 2018. Just so if anybody's looking, they want to go look and see, they can go see. I have documentation as well. And you know what's so crazy? I keep it in my phone just so I can shoot it to people in case they need. Yeah, that's the business. I keep it in my phone. So turn around and all of these people, and he said to me, my lawyer, he said, you know, could have got millions of dollars. But he said, you know, if you keep going, your millions will come, because you've done everything you needed to do to protect your brand. And that's what I was after. I didn't want to become famous because somebody stole it and I'm in the tabloids. I wanted to become famous on my own merit, which I have. Which I have. Not one word have I ever had anybody try to steal from me, because they know. The lawyer, hi, how are you? Yeah, you may not know her, but if you live under a rock, you know, there's this transvestite persona guy coming out of Philadelphia. Yeah, he's known as the Queen of Shade. Just to let you know, he's been in formation since 2015. Yeah, you're new. So we're just letting you know. Now back off before we sue you. That to me was more powerful than taking Disney's money, because I can't preach freedom to the generations below me, generations to come, if I am caught up, if I'm not free, if I have to tangle any part of myself with any of the ways, and I'm saying, when I say ways, I mean what's already out here. If I join and assemble with these people, I didn't do anything. That's why I tell people all the time, this is not leverage for me to get a career. This is the career. This is the career. This is not leverage. I'm not going to Hollywood. I have no interest in Hollywood. I have no interest in fame, though I have it. I have no interest. When I go to Paris, I'll be a fashion critic, a singer, a designer. I'll be doing what I want to do and not have to look back. Not at all. And it's getting to that time now. Things are wrapping up. I'm in conversation now. And get this, I hate the winter because I hate the cold. And sometimes it's very, very difficult for me during the winter because it's so dark. But this year, thank God, it's not. Hold on. Excuse me. It's not, because I went and I adopted a kitty cat, a 3-year-old calico, American short hair calico. And she's just amazing. I've been working on her. She was traumatized. So I'm working my magic on her too. And she's coming around beautifully. And she's making it not so tough this year for me to be in this gloomy weather with it snowing outside and inclement weather. But my buddy, one of my buddies, he's a couture designer, haute couture designer in Spain. He actually sent me my first priceless piece of couture. I had to laugh to keep from crying. I'm like, who am I? Who is this? I went to my grandmother. I went downstairs. I said, who is this bitch? She's getting couture. Like, Black people don't have this. They do ready to wear. This is what Black folk do. Ready to wear. This is couture. This thing costs thousands of dollars. It is handmade. Organza is the fabric. All of these precious stones are all on the, and it's just, I'm like, who is this bitch? And she looked at me and she says, I don't know, who is she? But my buddy, he's over there in Spain, and he's like, you have to come here because I want to dress you in couture. And I'm like, oh, all right. And then I have another buddy who lives in Lisbon, Portugal. And he said to me, he's like, you know what? You'd like the weather and the men a lot better here than in Paris. He said, why don't you move here and then travel to Paris and Germany and the UK and work? And for the first time, I was like, warm tropical weather, beautiful men. Yeah, I can do that. So now we're in talks to move to Lisbon. Okay. Yeah, and get it. I'm not taking my family, because we talked about that. Oh, they hate me. They can't stand me. They can't stand me. They can't. And guess what? That's not my problem. Their feelings about me are none of my business.
That ownership is true. Yes.
Yeah, that's none of my business. I'm taking my grandmother and my cat. That's it. We out. Bye-bye. And all my dresses, and all my boy clothes, and everything I've amassed. Yeah. Bye. And I would not have been able to do that had I gone to Hollywood. I would not be able to pick up and work from anywhere in the world had I done that. And the person that I'm speaking of, they shot themselves in the foot. They thought it was going to be amazing to be in Hollywood and to have that as their resume. And then they realized, oh, there's a salary cap to this. And I can't go off and do my own thing. I can't sing, because that was also a bone of contention with me. Yeah, they can't. And that's the thing. And every time they see me, they look at something that they feel they should have had. But they weren't qualified. They didn't have the credentials because they don't have the story. They don't have the hardships. They don't have what it took to build the Queen of Shade. They don't have that. Which is why I have never fretted. I have never fretted. During the pandemic, one of my companies went out of business. I was making no money. I had to break up with my following. I'm like, you bitches ain't buying nothing. And I'm like, right? And I'm like, y'all not buying a damn thing from me. And I'm like, listen. So goes out of business. I was suicidal. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is over. Got with my friends and my supporters, and they said, how much you need? And I started a new company. And I learned that from the executives in the business. They said, don't come to the record labels. Make friends. Your friends will put you in places where you need to be.
That's true. Your network is your net worth.
Yep. And in my network, I've been talking to them all. They like, bitch, get back here to Paris, because we know exactly what to do with you now. Now that you're visible, now that you're awake, we know exactly what to do with you. And so do I. I wasn't ready back then. They tried to tell me, you need to do the women's shows. I was like, I can't do that. You know, coming out of indoctrination, I can't do that. Now, mind you, I'm a grown man, I'm homeless. My family put me out, and I'm worried about what they'll think if they see me coming down the runway in Paris in a dress. They didn't care. So why should I? Ridiculous. So anyway, let me ask y'all some real questions, because we done threw logs on the fire, and it's gorgeous, and I don't edit. If we said it, nope. If we said it, it was authentic, and it's going out just like this. It'll be up in 10 minutes after this is over.
All right, that's fine.
I don't play no games. It's the platform I built. It's the platform I built. So, throwing a log on fire, I have to ask you some questions. You, Alex, you have worked with a lot of production companies. You first came into my life. I saw a role. You played opposite Sherrod, and it was the bathroom scene. I know, but let me explain. It wasn't all that happened. What was happening in your mind? What I saw and what we all saw. You took us through the terror, the desire, the fear, the want, like it was all there. It was present. And that's what brought you into my life. And then I had already been following Kyle. And then I saw you two get together, and I'm like, oh, this is 2 for 1. I can follow them both now. You know, like that's what happened. So you mentioned, okay, and you said this, you worked with all of these other studios, and then you decided to start your own. And naturally, you were probably one of the most talented people they ever worked with. So they weren't very happy with their star, deciding that they were going to strike out on their own. So being in Atlanta, here comes the question, and I'm not going to get messy. You answer this the way that you want to.
Okay.
Being in Atlanta with all of these other production companies, do you find it, I'm going to say the opposite, do you find it easy to work? To bring your dreams and your scripts and your ideas to the light without hearing the peanut gallery?
Absolutely. So I will confidently say I am perhaps one of the few people, because we all these different production companies, we all kind of started in the same cluster under like, I would say a certain production company, right? And some of us branched out. I didn't have any controversy with anyone upon leaving, right? I just wanted to be able to tell stories differently than I was seeing them being told by anybody else, right?
Okay.
And being a person in front of the camera. And a lot of people either know or don't know, a lot of those early projects under that one particular production company, I was a writer on a lot of different stuff. So you could tell when an episode came out that I had written because of substantive changes, character development, things like that. I'm a really big fan of shows and movies like Game of Thrones, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Harry Potter, like things where you can visibly see character arcs fully grow and develop and change, and even villains give a 3D perspective. And I wasn't really seeing or feeling that. I would, like, you saw a lot of things like a sex scene being really highly marketed, and you get to the episode and that sex scene is 25 minutes, 3 minutes of previously on, next episode, and then 3 minutes or 2 minutes of maybe other scenes of the episode. That would be it.
Right.
For a series. So
right.
I would say Atlanta is a great place for me because this is also where the talent is and where people have the aligned passion to want to tell stories. Yeah. I mean, yes, there's other things sprinkled here in Atlanta as well, right? People trying to be famous and popular and whatever. But I've also lived in Dallas, where there was a drought to that, right? You had all the opportunity that, you think about places like Chicago or Dallas, where you don't really see like shows, like web series shows or like movies or anything like that being produced at our level, being told. That's because either the talent's not there or the means are not there. Yeah. I would say being in Atlanta allows the opportunity to do that. And I'm not competing with other production companies. As I said earlier, my stories are completely different. Even if, for whatever reason, there was like a similar kind of story being told, the way I tell it is completely different. Yeah. You won't be able to anticipate the material.
Yeah, I love that. So since we're talking about it now, tell us about these wonderful, wonderful, wonderful projects, The Assistant and The Assistant 2. How did they come about? How did they come about? It's time. Come on.
So I co-wrote The Assistant, The Assistant 2 with my best friend, Orlando Love. We went to college together, and my writing actually started in college after the death of my very first boyfriend, who died from sickle cell. So it was a way to kind of just like be therapeutic and just writing, creating these characters based upon people I knew and things like that. Mm-hmm. Did acting and all that led to Janté production. So The Assistant, me and him usually like talk on the phone together, maybe to like, and we're just kind of talking noise about a movie, kind of get some ideas. And I remember the writer of Hunger Games was, I think it's Susan Collins. I feel like, don't quote me, but the writer of Hunger Games said that one day she was flipping her TV back and forth between the History Channel and the Game Show Network. Right. And she remembered looking at World War II documentaries about telling stories about Holocaust and all the horrors of war. Mm-hmm. And she remembered flipping to the Game Show Network, and she put those two ideas together, and that's how we got the Hunger Games.
Right.
Well, me and my best friend, we were watching
Suzanne Collins.
There it is.
I looked up, baby. I wasn't gonna leave you hanging, babe.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So me and my best friend, Disney Plus had just launched. Yeah. And we were feeling very nostalgic about childhood, like Disney movies of the most original movies. And we laid it on Smart House. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, like, honestly, if the house really wanted to, it could lock them all in and kill them all off, and no one would be able to do anything about it. and then just kind of like talking through that, I'm like, honestly, there's enough technology that we depend on in our everyday lives where that's not too far-fetched. Like, we have Bluetooth in our cars that's connected to our phones, that's connected in our homes. We have our temperature set by Siri and Alexa. Like, all of this stuff is interwoven. Like, you could do something. And that's how The Assistant started.
Right. That's beautiful.
And The Assistant too, just being a fan of the genre. Like, I'm a student of storytelling, a student of thrillers, being a fan of the genre, being able to take that simple, small idea. Now, there's a twist in The Assistant, if you haven't seen it already. There's a twist in The Assistant where it talks about that same scenario, but then it shines a light on Black mental health.
Okay, you going there. I'm glad, because that's where I was gonna go too.
The sequel expounds upon an idea that was winked at in the first one, but
Uh-huh.
really allows the opportunity to start looking at sources.
Yes.
So that's what the assistant two does. It talks about the technological dependency we have as just regular everyday people,
Yeah.
right? And then how mental health
Yeah.
is parallel to that.
Yeah. You know what? Speaking of that, oh, mental health in the Black community is something that is so taboo. We don't discuss it. That's how I wound up in the places where I was, because my family didn't know what that was. Bipolar 1, what's that? Today, it's a superpower for me. After 15 years of therapy, I have the energy without the mania. I have the complete energy without the mania. I am literally superhuman with what I do.
If you don't mind sharing, just for watching, do you mind just briefly talking about what mania is, or like what that looks like for somebody outside looking in?
Yes, what I actually was interviewed about this, so I can do it perfectly. I can give you an analogy. Okay, so everybody has their brain, and if you don't have mental illness in your family that can be passed or hereditary, it functions pretty perfectly. With a person that has bipolar disorder, our brains are not wired the same way. There's also a lack of a chemical, because it can be a chemical imbalance. So there's also a lack of a chemical or too much of a chemical. And what people don't understand is that based on your five senses in your whole life, from the time you can remember, from being like, I can remember back at being 2. So you can have traumas, you can have smells. It's the five senses: what you see, what you hear, what you touch, what you taste, what you smell. So it's the five senses, and these things are your triggers. They will alert you. And what happens is, when you are triggered, whatever's in front of you is no longer present. You go back to the memory of whatever trauma you had, based on that smell, based on that, taste, based on you. Listen, if you're, I'm gonna just use hypothetical here. If your father was an alcoholic and you remember the smell of butterscotch because that was just in the house, and he beat your ass, and then not only did he beat your ass, but then he passed mental illness to you, because most alcoholics have addictive personalities, and if you look under addictive personalities, there's usually some sort of mental health issue. So you could be at the height of your career, do an amazing job. You could be interviewing in front of somebody walk past you, and the smell of butterscotch is in the air. And then you're no longer there. Your body's there, but you are no longer there. You are getting your ass beat in a house by your father. And it's that, but wait, it gets, trust me, this is just a warm up. But that's what people don't understand. It takes you away from the reality of your daily living. You are snatched away, and you are forced to live in the past based on whatever happened to you. It destroys and snatches your ability to have life, because you are chained to the experiences that you had before that moment. So mania is when all of these triggers are in motion, and you've done nothing. You don't have a therapist, you don't have medication, you don't have a psychologist, psychiatrist. You've done nothing to try to take the edge off in a healthy way, bring yourself down. So this is my analogy for mania. Mania is like being on a plane. A plane takes off 200, 300 miles an hour, zips. Next thing you know, flaps go up, lifts right up off the ground. You climb to 30,000 feet. Everything's fine. You're up. You're great. It's going to be a great flight. It should be routine. There's only one problem. When you reach 30,000 feet, your landing gear drops off. So now you are soaring. And this is what people don't understand about people that are manic depressive. You are aware that your landing gear has fallen. So now you're flying and you have the fear and the trauma of knowing that a crash is inevitable. So then you start praying prayers to the divine, like, please let me survive this. Please let me survive this. Especially with bipolar disorder, it will kill you. It will kill you. If it's not properly treated, it will kill you because it will force you into risky behaviors and risky situations. It will literally kill you. So therapy taught me how to do an emergency landing because nobody's ever cured. Nobody's ever cured. I have to live with this for the rest of my life.
We are big advocates of therapy.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It changed my life. Get it? Therapy was the reason I turned on my camera and became the queen of shade. My psychiatrist said, you are talented. When are you going to sing? And I'm looking at this lady like, honey, I'm getting welfare. What are you talking about? I don't have no money to take and make no music. And she asked me every time she saw me, what's going on with your music? Are you at least, and I would say, I don't have no money. Are you writing?
That's logic. So that's what Bay has helped me with. Like she's seen that belief. We talked about the I taught him about the 5 strong characteristics that you always have from when you were born to now. You always have certain characteristics. It's just whether you operate in the balcony of that characteristic or the basement. And Babe's is belief. So for instance, for everybody watching, if my strongest characteristic is communication, if I'm operating in the basement, then I may be a gossiper, right? I may be an over talker. I may not let people finish their sentence. I may go very verbose. When I'm operating in the balcony, I am excellent in telling stories, helping people come together through communication. I'm a well-written person. So just from that example that you gave, that belief of having someone pour into, I mean, that goes back to our mentorship, right? You have to have that.
But be careful though, because that's characteristic of bipolar disorder. It's because it's either the balcony or the basement. You take the extremes. There's no middle.
We all have a spectrum of all of it, to be honest.
Yeah, there's no middle. There's no middle ground. You need middle ground.
We all have like duality. It's either are you conflicting yourself or are you accepting both of those? I have Harley Quinn. I know I do. I probably got some of those too, but it's still my responsibility to be present, which is something you have to re-trick yourself.
Yeah, but you know what I learned being a logical Libra, that the world is not black and white, it is gray.
The world is spectrum. I think it's rainbow. Even more complicated than that because there's things that we can't see.
There's a whole lot of stuff. But that's what mania is. And I had to, for 15 years, I had to literally walk through the cavities and caverns of my mind and address every single thing I saw, smelled, tasted, touched, or heard for 15 years. And I'm not done. I'm nowhere near done. I will have therapy for the rest of my life.
We all do.
Yeah. I will also take medicine for the rest of my life as well.
Me too.
Get this, I'm not changing it right now, but I'm going to have to. There's a medicine I take and it's for my mental illness and it conflicts with my prep. Now, mind you, I've been celibate for 10 years. This year in August, it'll be 10. But I was looking to get back out there and I'm like, okay, I have to have prep. So I talked to my doctor and, I got with a company that's a really good company. It's called Mr. And they called me and we had a consultation. Yeah, we had a consultation and they asked me, what did I take for my, my mental illness? And I told them and the doctor was like, oh, this will render your prep inoperative. And I was like, oh. So she was like, unless you're willing to change your medication. And I'm like, the medication that I've been on for 15 years, I didn't have to worry about weight gain and all these other things that all these other medicines bother. She was like, you're going to have to change it if you want to get back out there. So I was like, oh, so I'm actually going to talk to my psychiatrist in February and decide if I even want to go through, because it's so difficult to find the right medicine, the right cocktail. It's so different. Like, it's so different. The first medicines I was on affected my voice. I couldn't sing. So I was like, I got to get off this. I can't sing. Then we trial and error, in and out of hospitals, from here to Timbuktu, New York, Philadelphia, Paris. And I'm like, listen. And then finally, I'll never forget it. I was like out of it. And she says to me, she says, you're very talented. And I said, thank you. And I cried, because that's another symptom. I cried and cried and cried. And she said, we're going to get it right this time so that you can get on with your life. And she did. She did. And we got it right. And I've been on with my life.
Good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I believe it's education. There's a vitamin lady here in Atlanta who specializes in that, and just to help you understand yourself a little bit more, and then what better can help you, your blood, your just overall essence of yourself. I believe there's a whole lack of education, like you studied, with the mental health, but also just wellness overall.
Yeah.
Where we're very limited with that, or we limit ourselves with that medication, where we can't just actually become.
Yeah.
I believe the human body is way more capable than what we believe it is. I think it's stronger than our mind too.
Trust me, I know.
That.
Trust me.
And I believe it's connected to feeling as well too.
Yeah, I know. I've done some amazing things. Done some amazing things. So I want you to come up. I usually say 3 words. Now you guys have to give me 6, because Alex has to give me 3 and you have to give me 3. And they can't be the same. Each of you give me 3 words that inspires you or empowers you to be who you are. He looked at you first. You can't have his words. You gotta.
That's awesome. Mine is freedom, gratitude, and belief.
Okay. Tell me why. Let him think. Tell me why.
Absolutely. So belief is the scariest thing to do. Fear actually motivates me.
Me too.
Yeah, but belief, you don't know. I like being in the unknown. When I know there's something that is going to change or anything, and it's nice to know sometimes, but the possibilities are in the unknown. So belief is definitely my top one, because you have to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Gratitude is just the foundation.
Yeah.
You can't have an attitude if you got gratitude. One, that's just, if that doesn't connect to you, then go home and research gratitude a little bit more. It's the most powerful thing ever out there. Literally, it's the foundation.
Yeah.
And freedom is love. Like, if you don't feel free, what is life? But with freedom comes so much responsibility. Like, it comes with so much power as well, with so much flexibility, so much capability. So much possibility. But like your whole story that you just explained, coming from Paris and being poor to here, right there, you have the freedom to share that.
Yeah.
So I don't say those words like to sound like fairy and like nice. Actually, they're like real nigga words.
Yes.
They're tough things. A lot of the strongest guys are still too weak to be free and to believe in themselves, and to just, even the most simple thing of gratitude is a real grit of a practice, but it brings so much light and peace. So I would say that is my trinity of words.
Yeah. Your turn, Alex.
I would say individualization, patience, and storytelling.
Why?
So my biggest virtue, sometimes in Discord, is patience. I'm very patient. Like, I play the long game. That could both be good and bad, but I usually, when something happens, I'm able to instantly understand the source. Whether I agree with it or not is another factor, but it makes me a lot more patient to understand somebody else's perspective, which allows me to be more thoughtful in my actions.
Yeah.
Individualization, because I understand, just being a writer, understand how a person's character can impact a scenario, a team, a relationship.
Yeah.
Whether that ownership is mine, whether that demon is mine to fight, is also something I had to learn. But being able to fully understand the complexities of a person comes pretty naturally to me when I choose to opt in, right? And then storytelling is just at the core of all of it, just what I enjoy. And that comes in being able to tell my story, become a storyteller, help others develop how to articulate their own story. And then not only do that, what to do with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what to do with your story. You can have notes on a page, like a bookshelf full of books of your own tales, but what good does it do if you don't implement or become actionable in something or even help somebody else? So those are my three.
Yeah, Barbara Streisand, one of my biggest influences because of her class and her voice. I have the same kind of ability to sing very legato. She said in one of her songs, "A vision's just a vision if it's only in your head. If no one gets to hear it, it's as good as dead."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, that was Barbara Streisand, not me. So anyway, I want to thank both of you for an amazing conversation that's going to be up in 10 minutes. I'm not playing no games. And get this, it doesn't stop there. I come full of prizes. So once this renders to MP4, I will then hit you with the Google Drive link and you will get a copy of the audio and the video for you to use as you desire to, because we made it together. We own it together.
Thank you.
Yeah, we own it together. So you do with it what you will. I hope it brings you a lot of money. Because I'm like, listen, because we talked like we talked, and that's what people, honestly, that's what people like about what I'm doing, because it's not really an interview. No, these are conversations. Everybody gets scared when you hear the word interview because you think the person's going to be prying. I'm not that bitch. I don't care about your personal life. I don't care. I only care about the things that make you great, the things you want to share. Who, like Rihanna said it best when the woman asked her, "What do you do when you don't feel?" You know, I wouldn't have said fake it, but I would have said, like, I would have stayed inside until I feel good. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna, and to have the freedom, like you said, Kyle, to be able to say to the world today, I make enough, I do enough. I'm not moving from this bed until—
My God. There's peace right there in the middle.
Y'all, I'm not moving until I'm ready. And to be able to do that and not have to run off because of financial restriction, or I need to go back to, no, I'm staying right here. And that's so crazy because even in this situation I'm in, with my grandmother's spare bedroom, I get up when I get up, I lay down when I lay down, I work out when I work out, I eat when I eat. Like when I'm done sleeping, I wake up. That's when I wake up. And it's amazing. There are a lot, and that's what I tell people. There are a lot of successes that happen before you see millions of dollars. There are a lot. If you don't catch the successes before it, you miss the whole point.
Of mind.
Yeah.
Peace of, like, their peace of mind.
Yes.
Well, and I would just end with this, like, we as Black people are now starting to dawn into an age era where we are, it's kind of skewed because of COVID, but we have started to peak at this time where we no longer have to be survivalists, right? We no longer have to survive. We are able to live and have resources to do that. And a lot of us have no idea what to do with that liberation, what to do with that mindset. So we default to survival mindset. And I know, like I said, with COVID and just resources and jobs, it's become a little bit backtracked a little. But essentially what we were getting to was a place of being able to thrive and live and not just survive.
Yeah. It's
Absolutely.
so funny. My psychiatrist told me years ago, you're a thriver, you're thriving now. You're no longer in survival. Told me years ago. And it was just because, you know, I did the work. That's the thing. When you know, you said this, Alex, earlier, when you know you did the work, can't nobody knock you down. You're like, oh, yeah. They come, you looking at them like, oh, you're knocking on my tower window. All right, look at you. But you ain't gonna knock, no, you ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing, oh, look at you down there. Bless your baby heart. So real quick, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, even though I'm gonna put all y'all links down in the damn, yeah. You always go, you cater to him. I love that. You go first.
When I'm on social media, you can find me at it's Koolikal. That's KOOLIKAL.
Yeah.
And my social media handles is Alex Janté, ALEXJANTE on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can YouTube Janté Productions or Alex Janté to find work and look out for up and coming projects.
And I'm gonna end with this. I had the privilege of watching The Assistant and The Assistant 2. They were riveting. I enjoyed it because as a person, like so many others, that has had and been in a situation where mental illness can take over your life, it was riveting to see what was happening on that screen. Every character was very well developed. And I don't want to give anything away because I'm going to put the link down there where they can watch. I'm going to give it to the YouTube. So then they go to your YouTube and they can see it. But it was absolutely like literally, I watched the first one and I was like, what? Like the end, I was like, what? And then I immediately had to see the second. I literally stayed up and watched. And of course, my baby, shout out to my baby, who was one of the first babies I interviewed here, Lamar. Yeah, Lamar is my baby. I knew Lamar from YouTube in 2007, 2008.
He's wonderful.
Yeah, that's when we got it because he was in Tennessee doing Corey Knotts Realize, and I was at Jackson State. So yeah. Way back when.
Oh, but see, connections. That's how you know each other. You're like, oh, come on, play this role. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this. And I appreciate it. And it's going to be up in 10 minutes and you're going to get your copies and everybody's going to be happy. It's a lovely way to end the Friday evening for me because I've been working. I'm going to get out of this dress. Although I'm very proud of myself because I turn around and I'm back in this dress and I haven't been able to fit it for 2 years because of the COVID weight. But I've been working out at home because I just won't go to a gym yet. But I got my COVID weight off and I'm in this dress. Yeah, I'm in this dress. So yeah. So thank you. So say goodbye and don't go anywhere because I'm going to end it so that it ends and then, yeah.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for checking us out.